Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new season of Philosophy Gets Personal. Today, we have the fortune to have a special guest, Roxana Baiasu. She's a philosopher. She's assistant professor at the University of Birmingham, visiting lecturer at Stanford University Center in Oxford, and associate member of the philosophy faculty at the University of Oxford. She works in different areas such as philosophy of mental health, phenomenology, bioethics, social epistemology, and feminist philosophy. She's very prolific. She worked she wrote for different areas such as new models for tackling social differences and inequalities in mental health care. She wrote for the lived experience of lockdown, illness, power, and epistemic injustices. And today she's here to talk about happiness with us and to see how philosophy informed her personal life. So welcome, Roxana. It's a great pleasure to have you here today with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So let's start from a very straightforward question, and let's see if the answer changes throughout the interview. What is happiness for you? How does it look like? What kind of shape does it take in your personal life?
Well, happiness seems to me like a very big word.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, we tend to think of it as like a very demanding ideal, which must include lots of things. So it's something very complex. And we might perhaps tend to think of something like an utopian state of perfect being and fulfillment of desires. At the same time, it's this contrast with the reality we are facing in our contemporary world, which is impacted by climate change, by wars, the pandemic, various political and economic challenges that we all face in our everyday lives. So there is, I think, this contrast between, very powerful contrast between the contemporary world we live in and maybe an ideal, a utopian state of happiness. So to overcome this contrast, I'm trying to think of happiness as not a perfect ideal, but so in terms of an idealized conception, but something more like a mode of being that is accessible to most of us. And so to think of it in more realistic and accessible ways. So it seems to me that happiness is something very complex, and it's not just a mental state or a bodily state of pleasure. And there are internal components, external factors that one can think of in relation to this concept of happiness, to this idea of happiness. Some external factors, I guess, are, having good relations with people. So for me, to be happy, it means to have like good relations with people, long-lasting friendships, good family relations, harmonious social life, be part of a community, having a sense of belonging. So there are these social aspects as well as ethical aspects of happiness that I think are important to think about. And also more widely, it seems to be I can't be happy in an unfair society. So I think justice, equality, required for a sort of communal life. In order for individuals that share this communal life to be happy. So if I see injustices, then this make me sad, so unhappy. And
Roxana, exactly on this point, you work on mental health injustice, inequalities in mental health. If, as you said, happiness is something that resides in our relationships, in our ability to have long and deep relationships, what about people whose skills in building relationships is impaired? Do they have an equal chance to happiness? Is their yeah, a chance to get happy, to have a happy life, impaired and somehow? What's your experience in this field?
So I think yeah, happiness is a social thing, and I think that you know, we should offer support to each other, and people who have, like, for example, impaired skills of socialization, or who have you know, certain disabilities, or are more vulnerable or extremely vulnerable, then society and you know, governments, institutions should support the needs of these individuals, so that they have like a sort of equal access, or maybe one could argue for a right to happiness, but and then make claims about how this right could be met in the case of extremely vulnerable individuals. But I think in order to overcome injustices, inequalities, particularly in relation to healthcare generally, and mental health care, it is important that the well-being of these individuals is promoted, nurtured, at the micro level of interpersonal relations, but also at a more macro level of institutions, policies, you know, government intervention. Pardon?
What can we do? What's a practical thing we can do to help to increase their social ability to get happy?
So I think they have the capabilities to be happy, and I think it is important to think about capabilities in this context, and how these capabilities could be met in relation to the needs of particular groups and particular specific individuals. So I think at the micro level of social relations, it's important to maybe culturally promote empathy and support, mutual support, through, I don't know, by raising awareness, some forms of activism, you know, educational programs, and at like a sort of meso level and macro level, it is important to develop policies at you know, in healthcare, and maybe at the state level as well, policies that can lead to the development of resources and tools that can enable these individuals who need to exercise capabilities to have the appropriate resources, and maybe contextual support for them to be able to do what they can do, and to be what they can be. So
Yeah.
yes.
I mean,
It's a very difficult question. What
it
can
is.
we do?
I mean,
We
if we try
theorize a lot, and yeah.
if we try to put it on a personal level, I mean, when I get down, when I feel down, it's the moment in which I don't feel like answering phone calls. Maybe friends can try to reach me out, but it feels too much energy, to take an invite, to take on an invite, to do things. And I'm sure that this is a lived experience that concerns many other people, and it's quite common in a life to feel like that. Often, I don't know, or
I think
sometimes.
you're right, yeah.
Yeah. How can we help each other when something like this happens? I mean, I learned for myself that when I feel like this, there's the bell of self-involvement, and I think, okay, now I'm too self-involved. It's happening again. I need to look out. I need to maybe help a friend, or put my head into something that it's refreshing, and so on. I don't know if you have ever had this experience for yourself, or a friend who felt like this and you managed to help. What's the micro step to well-being that can be taken in moments of down, you think?
Yes, yeah, this is a interesting and very difficult question. I think it's important, you know, to feel that your presence can matter, and that, you know, your existence matters to other people. And if they reach out, you know, just, you know, texting each other, or, you know, just you know, some emoji even, like with
Yeah.
hearts, or, you know, messages of support, or sending good thoughts and good vibes, this, you know, can help. And so reaching out to others who you know, are in this state of feeling down, which, yeah, I think everyone experiences, including myself, and you know, showing them some sort of effective in sort of presence, and caring. I think that could be an initial sort of
Right.
action. And of course, trying to then maybe make them get out of the shell, and you know, trying to overcome the isolation, and to the tendency to further isolate ourselves. I think that's also maybe an important next big step. And as you, I think you said, it's sometimes important to just throw yourself into an activity, even, you know, even if you just do it like sort of mechanically. You know, I
Right.
have moved this body, which
Right.
now you know, it's me feeling down, to throw it into a situation where I can maybe become absorbed in an activity. And I think just this initial mechanical sort of movement can then put someone on the path towards an activity and an engagement and involvement in something that can then produce a better, you know, state of mind, and yeah, state of perhaps even well-being, by, you know, enjoying the activity, or, you know, participating in something, and in this way overcoming this feeling of feeling down, and you know, not wanting to get out of your house, of your bed, or, yeah, which might be, you know, something that we experience on a daily basis sometimes.
Have you ever experienced for a time a state of unhappiness? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Grief, you know, could be a very difficult state of unhappiness. And
Yeah.
indeed, it's I think very difficult to overcome when you lost someone close. That kind of changes your whole perspective on the world, on your relationship. Is like an atmosphere that you actually are in, and you can't get out. It colors the whole way you see the world, and you feel you have a sense of yourself, of others, and perhaps you cannot get out of this atmosphere that you're wrapped in, but maybe you can find ways of coping well, and functioning well, even in such situations. And I think for example, for me, philosophy is a way of overcoming such moments of feeling down, or even states of unhappiness due to grief as a result of following the loss of loved ones, and engaging in activities, doing what you love, doing what you feel passionate about, even if sometimes you lose this interest because of the grief or the sadness that overcomes you. I think, this could be ways, and also, seeking other people, seeking to talk to other people, and to share your feelings and your worries, your concerns, your unhappiness. I think this also helps a lot, through friendships, or even people who care to could be strangers on the street, or
Right.
in the train, if they care to listen to you and to talk to you. I think that also can help a lot to overcome, for you to overcome these states, and to become able to cope, and to to participate in the social world we share. And
I remember when I lost my mother, I was desperate. It was I was 30 years old, and I was crying. At some point, I started crying on a train. I was just crying and crying and crying. And I remember the person sitting next to me, no, in front of me, across me, said, "It will not last forever. It's going to get better. It's the best thing this person could have told me." And it stopped there. I mean, I didn't last. There wasn't any big conversation. It was just, it's going to get better. It's not.
yes,
It will not last forever. So yeah, I totally agree with you. If you manage to have a significant, even very short conversation, it can get you through. So you use philosophy when you lost someone important in your life. Did philosophy help you?
So I just continued doing it. Yeah. So being involved, in this, in various philosophical activities of, in making philosophy in various ways, through teaching, or organizing discussions, talks with other philosophers. All these things kept me going, despite the very deep grief I experienced, as a result of following the loss of my parents. So I think that helped a lot, and also trying to make sense of things, by acknowledging that a big part of my world has crumbled, and just disappear, was cut off. And so I think being involved, doing something creatively, like philosophy, could be also be art or music or other things, can compensate for this loss of an important part of your life. It's like, you lose a leg or you lose an arm, you can try to overcome this by getting by doing things that enable you to realize new possibilities, to experience your freedom, to experience your exercising of capabilities, which I think are life empowering. And So I think, yeah, grief could be, and some other experiences like, illness, mental illness, are life stifling. And then we have to look for ways that we can breathe again, and that we can, experience our freedom and our possibilities to be, which we, can't do if we just, give up and surrender to the, the bed of suffering. And yes, the isolation of pain and suffering that isolate, takes us away from others, and further enhances this loneliness that could be, life stifling. So I think that there is a power in us that enables us to overcome or to cope in such difficult situations. And in my work, I explore this a bit in terms of a notion of resilience and existential, fundamental, deep resilience that we have in many cases. But again, this resilience is maybe comes from us, but sometimes we need the support of others to further, pursue resilient modes of being. So just ourselves sometimes might not be sufficient as resources for coping with difficult situations in life. Yeah. So
as you're speaking, it comes to my mind what Martha Nussbaum said when her mother, I think, was dying, and she noticed how unfair somehow it was, her ability to keep working and being very good at what she was doing. And at the same time, part of her life was, as you were saying, crumbling, because when you lose someone, you have the apparent feeling that the life world is collapsing on itself. Although, to my experience, it continues. So it's just an apparent feeling, because the relationship doesn't end when you lose someone. At least that was my experience. And and so Martha Nussbaum was noticing how startling was this pull toward life, philosophical activities, and writing and thinking and so on. And at the same time, a part of herself was
yes,
mourning deeply her mother.
yes, yes. I remember I came across the same. Yeah. So case, and I've read about this, and yes, I mean, it might look as though maybe your grief is not like some. I guess some people might be judgmental.
Honored. Exactly. There's a kind of a judgmental tone. You have to stop your life, and nothing can
You have to stop
continue.
and more. And I think more, I think it's important to more as well, to give time to take in all this loss. But at the same time, I think things like work or getting involved in some activities could be life-saving. So they could, in terms of how you cope and how you,
Although I remember in my case, my brain was completely blank. I remember while my mother was sick and I was at her hospital, I was trying to do the translation of a book. Oh God, from English to Italian, or from I don't even remember, or Italian to English anyway. And words wouldn't come. And I knew that I had this deadline and I had to do it. And I didn't know how ill was my mother. So I was just there trying to work and keep her company while she was sleeping. And my brain was completely blank. And somehow I was my super ego was really harsh on me and said, no, you should work, you should do things. So in my case, went this way, but then stoicism helped, and remember that I started reading a little more of Seneca and his writing on time, and the importance of being in the present and letting the emotions go and looking at your emotions without necessarily engage with them, and let your life flow. A little bit of work here, a little there, things started flowing. Did you have any philosopher in particular that managed to talk to you during those moments, or it was more the philosophical milieu?
I think I don't remember, trying to find support in some specific philosophical text. It was more the activity of doing
The activity
philosophy,
itself.
of letting myself being absorbed, and I also was in denial. I wasn't accepting. I wasn't. I didn't think, that the end is approaching. I was hoping in recovering and
Me
recovering
too, me
my
too.
parents, and I never accepted, and so I was in denial, maybe, some form of bad faith, and maybe that's bad faith might be something inescapable in some situations, and or in
What do you
general.
mean by bad faith? Because I know you are using this in a very technical way, and our listeners might miss it.
So lying to oneself, deep, like deep, inside deeply in you, that you know that some reality is the case, but you don't accept it, and you try to cover it up, and to conceal the truth from yourself. And yeah, I never thought I never thought of a bad faith in relation to death and grief so far, but it just came to mind now when I was thinking about how often we don't accept illness, and we don't accept how it can affect our lives, and we don't accept the possibility of death. Being in this denial. I mean, Heidegger talks about being towards death, and how we try to kind of flee away from the realization of our mortality in our own case. But I think probably this also applies when we think about the death of the closed ones, and the loved ones, and so I think that perhaps when I was facing death directly in connection to some people who are very close to me, and very like my parents, maybe I wasn't accepting the real possibility of their death. I was trying to flee away from it and to lose myself in activities. We were talking about how it's possible to lose yourself, and I think if you're absorbed in these activities, maybe in some way these are this can help you cope, but at the same time you get lost a bit in these activities, and you flee away from the realization of some very deep but very hurtful realities and possibilities. Yes, I think that's an interesting dynamic between losing yourself and finding yourself, and or being able to cope as an agent, and to continue to exist in the world as an agent, and someone who can do things, who can be actively an active individual in the world, function in various situations of life, and you think this is a way of you being in control, and having an identity, finding yourself, but at the same time there's this fleeing away from your acknowledging some very deep and true possibilities, and then this might not seem very truthful and to yourself, and So maybe yeah, that's a paradox of
It's a
of
paradox that
finding and
was
losing
said.
yourself.
Yeah, because who knows if there's someone there? I mean, while you are functioning so admirably, and you are there, you manage to do this and that. Who knows if someone is actually there? I remember back then still. I was teaching in high school, so it's a very nice age. They are young and sweet. And the principal of the headmaster of the school told my class, you know, she cannot come today because today she lost her mom. And then the week after, I came back to work because I needed to work. And they were very sweet. They were pests. I mean, my class was terrible. Everybody was, always very energetic, yelling and so on. And on that day, they were all so quiet and sweet.
Oh,
They came and they
touching.
hugged me. And there was a part of me that was the shadows of me, I'd say, almost bothered because I don't want you to acknowledge that. I don't want to be there. I don't want to go there now. I'm functioning. I'm on in action mode.
Yes.
I, I was living the paradox, I think, because other people were coming into that world that I was trying to keep under the carpet and for nobody to see it. And I was almost obliged to share it, and it was quite difficult with
Yes.
a public, with a venue that was generally,
Public. Mhm.
yeah,
Oh,
not so
very open.
intimate.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes. It's like probably like yeah, exposing a wound, uh,
Yeah.
feeling exposed, and you don't want to yeah be remembered of that wound. I guess I felt the same when I returned to teaching. So I had a week off, and then I returned to teach, and again yeah, very everyone you know seemed very compassionate, and they said nice words. There was a class actually with adults, so it was an
Uh-huh.
evening class, and of course yeah they were very empathic, and they said yeah various nice you know compassionate things. But yeah I was I felt the same as you know that
Mhm.
I would just prefer for things to look as usual, and that
Mhm.
we say the usual things, that we don't but yeah, so we after a brief moment at the beginning, we start immediately to talk about you know philosophical things, issues. I think yeah I was teaching Wittgenstein, and we just started
Oh, wow.
discussions, and yeah about some matters in the area of philosophy of language. So yeah, but that you know that helped me, and it was like having a break from you know grief, getting these moments of philosophical discussion. um I think these moments of you know good functioning you know in a public space, they like I think they could be like a break from taking a break from grieving and mourning, and uh
Right.
yes, so I think they were very helpful for me for like my mental health and my you know well-being in that situation. So yeah, that this
I
moment
wonder if,
fleeing from grief, and yeah, sorry.
no, I'm sorry. I wonder if both things help. I mean, one thing, it's very curious that you were teaching Wittgenstein because the unsayable and the difficulty of expressing in words, and it fits to the situation to a certain extent. I wonder if both fleeing and having a space for the making the space for the soul to breathe, both help because after all, in these moments of pain, there's healing too. I mean, what these people did for us was to make space on a time that was just for themselves, to listen to us, to to be with us even in silence or with their emotions, and be and let the pain out for a moment, because the difficult part of happiness, I think that was a topic with another interviewee I had a few months ago, is that we don't have enough time to be unhappy. So happiness becomes a kind of a moral duty. That there must be always this kind of state, and sometimes it cannot be built if we are not left with space and time to, yeah, to just be miserable, to feel the pain we are going through. And it's uncomfortable, but maybe healing.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting what you said. So I think, there was an implicit sense of compassion in the room
Mhm.
when I went to teach, even though we were talking about, Wittgenstein, and it was more like later Wittgenstein and
Yeah.
philosophy of ordinary language. So we were like very, down to earth with the topics. But there was, there was a feeling that I had this feeling that, I my sort of situation is seen and I'm visible, and
Mhm.
people see me as who I am, and in that situation, and I think that was comforting. And yeah, I mean, about happiness as a duty, I don't see it that way. I'm not very
Yeah,
sure
yeah, yeah.
what that means. I mean, I see happiness in terms of in connection to, and so I think that an important part of happiness is well-being, being
Mhm.
well, and I understand this in terms of us being capable to do things and to be who we are, and how to exercise our freedom. And an important fundamental capability we have, I think, as humans, is the capability to make sense of things. And I think so. It seems to me that I am well when I can understand things. If I'm
Bello, that's
in a
beautiful.
place which is unfamiliar, mysterious, threatening,
Mhm.
then I can't be happy.
That's so
If
beautiful.
I make sense of the place I'm in, I understand what's going on. That is comforting. I feel more at home in that situation, and so from maybe from an existential phenomenological perspective, I understand happiness as having this core component of making of the capability to make sense of things, which could render uncanny places more familiar, and as places that one can inhabit and can be in. So if, for example, you're ill and you understand more about your illness, you understand more about your lived experience, and maybe that perhaps your experience of illness is not totally unique, maybe that other people have experienced it, and then you share your experience with others. This way of making sense of it, I think, can help one to cope better, and um, to maybe to get so the uncanny becomes less threatening, and perhaps the uncanniness of one's illness becomes gets more diminished, and maybe you once you get to know your illness, I guess,
Mhm.
that can maybe open some possibilities for you to experience also some states of well-being
Mhm.
in illness. Yeah, I think. So I think, yeah, sense making is the way that I am trying to understand, this big concept of happiness.
That's beautiful. I agree. I love it. I didn't see it in this way, but it's really a nice way to look at happiness. And if I can improvise like a jazz player on this concept with you and come back to something we were saying before, what if we can help each other when there are moments of unhappiness, when we experience some mental uh, issue, or we have some mental disabilities? What if we try to turn down the projections and try to make ourselves more understandable? I give you an example. If I'm feeling blue and I don't take the phone call of a friend of mine, one anxiety I might have is, oh my God, this friend will feel offended because she thinks or he thinks I'm rejecting him or her. While for me, I'm not rejecting. I'm just feeling so tired, down, and so on, that I don't have the energy of engaging. What if this friend don't take it as a personal rejection? What if we finally manage to free each other from these projections for which uh, this person is answering to me like this because he or she thinks that I'm this, this, and that? What if we cut on the projections and we just make ourselves more understandable? We make our situations, our lived experience, our feelings a tiny bit more maybe exposed and understandable at the same time. What do you think? Could that be a path toward happiness in mental health, in emotional health, or would it make things more complicated? Now I'm truly improvising on your ideas, so who knows?
Yes, I'll improvise in my response
Of
because
course.
I haven't thought, I
Me
haven't thought
neither.
about this connections between ideas before. What I understand from what you said is that perhaps being more open in our judgment about others, in how we perceive others and others' behavior, I think, and I agree, can help with the development of certain human interactions that can promote well-being and can help with mental ill health. So as you in connection to your example, if say I am the friend who calls you and you don't answer and I know you're there, if I don't if I resist the temptation of being judgmental and thinking, oh, she rejects me, she doesn't want to take the phone call because she doesn't like me, or because she thinks I'm an annoying person or something like that.
Exactly.
If
Yeah.
I train for making all these judgments, and maybe try not to make any judgment, or to maybe think, oh, maybe she has a problem, maybe you have a problem, and maybe I can help you in some way, or I just refrain from making a judgment because I'm thinking, you might have a problem, you might be unwell, or so things like this. I think that would be help a lot. I think this openness and this sounds to me like a state of phenomenological epoche. You
Absolutely.
refrain of to make a
Yeah, tell
judgment.
us something, about it for the
Just this,
listeners.
I mean, epoche, I guess, would be here an extension. The use of epoche here would be an extension or an application of the phenomenological term that Edmund Husserl introduced in his phenomenology of I think was it in the context of perception? I can't remember exactly, but intentional states of consciousness. So Husserl, I mean, you're a better Husserl scholar than I am.
We don't need much about Husserl here. We don't want to scare off people.
So when one applies epoche, one refrains from making any sort of judgment that is informed by certain preconception or maybe prejudices or even biases, by certain maybe theories that one might have about, reality or people. So suspending any judgment, I think that's the idea here, that could be applied in this context, could, facilitate better social interactions which are conducive to well-being, which wouldn't impose certain wouldn't involve the imposing certain labels or certain trying to put people into sort of like boxes. You might hate me or you might not like me, and that would be the kind of category that I would place myself in as a person who might be annoying. So by suspending this sort of judgments and labeling, and having this openness towards others and also towards ourselves, I think this openness is very beneficial and makes possible a safe space where people can connect authentically, and there could be like genuine interactions between individuals, which would involve a respect for them as persons with freedom and with like dignity and with their inner lives, and that we can't predict, anticipate, and put labels on. I think so this would be, this openness can create a safe space where people can see each other as who they are, and they listen to each other, and they can and all this, seeing people, seeing others as who they are, and letting them be who they are. I think they are like very and listening to others is and seeing them are very important fundamental and basic existential premises for genuine interaction and for the possibility of happy encounters.
To understand where they are and see it. Thank you so much. This is a very interesting key to happiness and gives the answer to what we were discussing at the beginning. Now, time flew by, and this is the very last, very difficult question as usual. What do you think is the meaning of life, if there is a meaning to life? Do you have an answer for us?
I think that's a very, very big question.
Very big for the final.
Yes, I think there are meanings in life, and various people make different make sense of life in different ways, and what can be meaningful for one person can be less meaningful for another. There is this diversity, huge diversity of ways of making sense of life. And I think what's important is to persevere in looking for meanings in life. I think this is conducive to well-being, and well-being is conducive to happiness. And one can make sense of things not necessarily by reflecting, engaging in like very deep philosophical readings, but I mean, philosophy, I think it's something that is inherent in human being. We philosophize whether we know it or not. Sometimes we ask philosophical questions, deep fundamental questions about the meaning of life, about reality, knowledge, and so on in various junctions in our lives. And I think, yeah, what's important is to try to engage in things that we feel passionate about, that we that enhance our freedom, and that enables us to exercise our capabilities to be and to do, which I think are ways of making sense of the world, and of our ways of finding meanings in life.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that's
Yeah.
addresses in some way the question, but
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. It was a delight to talk to you this morning, Roxana. Thank you so much for this wonderful conversation.
thank you so much. Thank you, Susie. It was a pleasure to be here.